Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be doing an album review. I'm going to be taking a look at this record today, which is Cloudcuckooland by The Lightning Seeds. So just be doing my usual thing in this video, giving a bit of background information about the album, showing you my vinyl copy of it here, and then going through each of the album's tracks in detail. So this album was released on the 29th of January in 1990, and The Lightning Seeds at this point were basically like a solo sort of studio project for Ian Brody, who up to this point had been a really prolific producer throughout much of the 80s, producing for the likes of Echo and the Bunnymen, The Fall, The Icicle Works, and the Bodines. And previous to this, Brody had been in a number of post-punk bands around the Liverpool area, but had not found success with any of the bands he had been in. Now it was while producing for the band The Pale Fountains that Brody was offered the chance to record some songs in his own right. I'm not sure what the situation was, if he was maybe playing in the studio and maybe some record company people thought, oh hang on, he's quite good, what the situation exactly was. But basically a very small label released the first Lightning Seed song, which was a track called Pure, which came out in June of 1989. Initially this single was pressed only with around 200 copies, but it would capture the imagination of other larger record labels as well as radio DJs, and would eventually become a top 20 hit. Brody was then signed to Ghetto Records, and asked, can you make us an album, basically? And this was the result, recorded fairly quickly, at the tail end of 1989, with Brody playing near enough all of the instruments himself, on the album. Although there are a couple of guest spots on here from the likes of Andy McCluskey from OMD and Ian McNabb from the Icicle Works. Now, despite success with the single Pure, this album was not particularly successful. Certainly in the UK it peaked at number 50 on the albums chart, so a bit of a flop. But in America, it was a slightly different story. Like I said, Pure was released as a single, and not only was it a hit in the UK, but it also became a bit of a radio hit in America. So much so that when the album came out, it managed a rather respectable 46 in America. So actually, quite interesting that it was arguably a more successful album in America than over here. So anyway, I will try to show you my vinyl copy of it here. So this is a original UK pressing of the album. So this came out in a few different variants. So this one is just the standard 10-track album, which is what we'll be looking at today. But I think on CD it had a bonus track, a song called God Help Them, which is okay. It's probably not one of my favourites on the album. And then there was also, I think, the American copies and Japanese copies all swapped out slightly different songs, and songs all a different sets of bonus tracks on there. But I'm not going to be looking at any of them today. I'm just looking at the core UK album here. So like I said, this is the original pressing on Ghetto Records there. Nice artwork to this. I do really like this cover, and then the inner sleeve's quite nice as well, just with the various lyrics to the song, and then a picture again of Brody on the back of it there. And the record label looks like this here. So there we are. That is the vinyl record looked at. Okay, so I'm now going to go over each of the album's tracks in detail. I'll score each song out of 10, and then use those scores to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. So the album kicks off with the song All I Want, which was a single, so I've got all the singles from the album to show as well. So here's a copy of the 7-inch single here for All I Want. So this is one of my favourites on the album. I think it kicks off the album really, really, really well. Great kind of guitar tones on it, quite sort of reverby guitar, which is paired really nicely with a piano in the track. It's a really well arranged song. This is one of two co-writes on the album with a guy called Pete Coyle, who was in another 80s band called the Lotus Eaters. I think this is a cracking track. Brody sings it really well. It's got quite a like a kind of like a gentle like sort of like voice, I call it. Like his voice is quite kind of twee sort of sounding, I feel, but I think it's I think he's got a really nice voice which really suits many like off like these songs, and I guess vocally it maybe is a little bit like in contrast to the lyrics of the song, which are a little bit more kind of I guess direct and kind of demanding. He sings like, "You better listen from now on," like kind of, I guess, like the song is quite a pleading like kind of song. But yeah, like I said, this was a single from the album. I think something like the third single, but it was a flop. It was failed to chart, and it was actually completely re-recorded for the single version, which I can't decide like whether I prefer the single version like or the album version. The single version's a bit more muscular guitar sound, and it's got a completely different like middle eighth like as well like on it. So like in a way like I do prefer the single version, whereas the album version has a slightly more kind of dreamy and kind of slightly softer kind of touch to it. But yeah, great song there to kick off the album. All I Want would get a 10 out of 10. Okay, and then the second track up on the album is called Bound in a Nutshell. Now this is a much slower track for the second one here, and is a little bit more political as well. It's probably the only overtly kind of political song like on the album. Essentially about Brodie's native Liverpool and the kind of the poverty like of like the city, and I guess the kind of sense of hopelessness and rundownness like that there was like in like the city, like in like sort of like towards like the end like of like the 80s. He sings like, "We're far from power, north of desire, tied and bound by all these lies." And it's got a really nice kind of production on it. It's quite, again, it's quite a gentle production, but builds up really well. It's quite a layered and intricate song, particularly like in like some like the backing vocal work like that's going on like on like the track. So yeah, Bound in a Nutshell's a really nice track there. Would get an 8 out of 10.
Just lying smiling in the dark, shooting stars around your heart, dreams come.
Okay, and then we get the lead-off single and easily the most popular, well-known song from the album. It's Pure here. So yeah, like I said, this came out like as a single before the album came out. I'm pretty certain this isn't the original single version of it, but like here's the 7-inch to it here. And what a song Pure is. This is the song that got me into like the Lightning Seeds. Like I remember like how I first heard this was like I was on holiday. I think it was either in Greece or Turkey, I think, like just at like a hotel, and they had a kind of radio on, and normally they're playing not very good stuff, but then this song came on. I was like, this sounds really good, and I think I ended up having to look up some of like the lyrics or something to find out like what it was. But when I found out like it was like the Lightning Seeds, I was like, oh, like I've heard of them, and like, oh yeah, like Ian Brodie, like he produced a lot of albums I love, and yeah, it was really the song that kind of got me into them. It's a great pop song there, so really kind of good kind of chirpy horn line going throughout like the track. I really like the production on this song again. It was apparently a like this actual recording of it was unfinished. Basically Brodie kind of sent it to like this small label and they issued it, and he apparently wasn't very happy about it, but I think it's got a real charm to it, this track. I particularly like some of like the drums on it, like the programmed drums. It feels quite DIY, but has a real kind of, like I said, like a real like charm like to it. The lyrics are really good like on this song here. It's essentially just a straight kind of love song really, like sort of like evolving, like it's kind of got like a sort of like a too good to be true kind of feel to it, like lyrics evoking sort of different like images of kind of sleigh rides and look at me in starry skies, pushing me up to starry eyes or something, or like something like that. It's again, it's quite a dreamy kind of like lyric, this one here. And yeah, like I said, this was a single and a big hit single, eventually reaching number 16 in the UK and reached number 31 on the American Billboard chart. So yeah, really the song that kicked it all off for the Lightning Seeds there. That's Pure. And I've also got this, which was a Record Store Day issue of it. Probably didn't really need this because there's only one track on it I don't have, called Flaming Sword. The other B-sides on it are The Nearly Man and All I Want, both of which are on the album. But yeah, this just came out, and I think this is on it's on like a yellow vinyl, this here. So yeah, that's Pure. Really, what more can I say? It's a 10 out of 10 song. Okay, the fourth track up on the album is called Sweet Dreams, which is a real kind of driving, again, another upbeat song here, which really like fits like the flow like off like this album, I feel. The guitar on this is great. Reminds me a little bit of New Order sort of thing. Think of like, I think like their track Run, or I think Love Vigilantes is got that similar kind of like sort of like chugging like guitar like to it. The song itself is really melodic, drives along well, and there's also a nice female vocal on here by a woman called Kate Shanks, who sings part of, I think, like the second verse, so it gives it a nice kind of texture, this one here. This is one you could, some people would maybe say is maybe a bit too overproduced, a bit too glossy. This one you could definitely kind of, I think, tell a little bit off the kind of production leap from, say, Pure to this song. Does feel like a little bit like of like a leap, but it's still a great song, Sweet Dreams. I really, really, really enjoy it, and it would get a 9 out of 10. Next one up on the album is called The Nearly Man. Now, this one is a slightly more down and dour song, certainly lyrically anyway, which is about essentially a lyric full of kind of self-doubt. He sings like, down here at the bottom when you're staring at the top with a head full of ideas, I'm only flesh and blood. But then the music's quite a little bit more dramatic, this one. You've kind of got various kind of synthesizers. I think there's maybe like an accordion, or it's probably just like an accordion synth sound, but it kind of sounds like an accordion, and it's got these slightly like it is like a Washroom keyboard on here. It's probably a song that I would say maybe like is like a little bit like dated, possibly, like some of like the keyboard sounds like you certainly like wouldn't get like you certainly like wouldn't like get away with like today, but it's a decent album track there, so I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It's probably not one that I would reach for out with the album. Okay, and then side 2 opens up with the song Joy. So this was also a single, and again I've got 7-inch for it here, but I've also got the 12-inch. It's got a slightly different cover there. So Joy here. This is a really nice song. It's a much slower track, this one. Essentially a kind of ballad full of like regret, like and loss. He sings, essentially the premise of it is like I never realised I had it so good until it was gone, kind of thing. Again, production-wise, it's quite lush, this one. There's a lot going on, quite, like a lot of kind of synthesizers. It maybe feels a little bit Phil Collins-y, possibly, and not quite like in like a good way, like either. Like certainly some of like the vocals are like quite, like multi-layered and that. But it is a well-written song, this one here. Like it's a song that I think could have worked well, like maybe like as like an acoustic track, and also like as a single, it was a massive flop as well. It did not chart, which I kind of think like is a shame, because I think it is a good track. It probably is the kind of like I guess like after Pure, like and All I Want is probably like the most commercial track like on like the album, maybe except for Sweet Dreams possibly, but yeah, it's got a kind of like kind of torch ballad kind of feel to it. So yeah, like I really like Joy. Would get an 8 out of 10. Next up on the album is a bit of an album filler for me personally, which is The Love Explosion here. So this song was originally issued by a band called The 3 O'Clock, who I'm not sure if Brody had produced. He might have produced maybe one of like their albums, but he essentially gave them this song for one of their albums, and then for some reason decided to redo it for this album. I suspect the fact that this album was kind of recorded quite quickly, he maybe just didn't have like enough songs, so he felt he needed to sort of like do this version. It's almost identical to like the 3 O'Clock's version, certainly kind of like in like the musical sense. I think some of like the lyrics had changed about though, and yeah, I mean it's an okay song, this one here. It's certainly not one of my favourites like on the album. Again, vocally it's maybe a little bit fussy. I think like in like some of like the arrangement, he's kind of all over like in like his vocal range, like certainly like on like the chorus he's going really deep and really low, and like kind of like layering it up like in different ways, and yeah, it's just not one of my favourites like on like the album there, The Love Explosion. Okay, next up on the album is called Don't Let Go, which this one is a more kind of, again, more kind of sugary sweet kind of ballad, this one here. But I really like it. Again, I think production-wise is great. You've got really nice guitars like on it, and like just a kind of bubbling synthesizers that kind of stay out of the way like a little bit, like on like the arrangement on this one, like which I quite like. The song itself is good. Maybe some of like the lyrics are maybe like a little bit weaker. It's about a kind of like again quite a pleading song around sort of trying to convince I guess someone to sort of stay with you or like not leave you. He sings like there's one particular line there that always irks me a bit, like the line like I'm stuck stuck on you, I'm stuck like glue. Feels a little bit clunky, but like the rest of the song like is like really good though. So yeah, Don't Let Go will get an 8 out of 10. Next up, the penultimate track on the album here is called Control the Flame, which is probably the most out there song on the album, and it's probably one of my least favourites on here, like, as well. It's got a kind of herky-jerky kind of rhythm to it, nice guitars on it, but the vocals on it are just a little bit, like, again, like, all over the shop. That line, like, in, like, the chorus, like, the Control the Flame bit, but who the hell would want to stop this feeling bit, is kind of, he's put loads of effects, like, on, like, his voice. It definitely feels quite overproduced, this one here. Like I definitely feel that he maybe got a little bit too into like the production like on like this song here. But again, I do appreciate him like on this song trying something different. This is quite different from, like as I said, like some of like the more commercial poppier moments like on the album. But yeah, it's just really like not a favourite track. A bit of a unsuccessful experiment there for me. Okay, but then thankfully they end the album with, again, one of my favourites on the album, which is The Price, which is just a brilliant song. It is this is one where the production really works. Great guitars on it, these kind of good, I assume they're kind of 12 strings, but they sound like they've been double tracked at least about 4 times, so it's got a real big kind of wall of sound, this one here. And like again, like the vocals are really strong. He's using his voice well on this. He's not trying to stretch it or do weird stuff with it like on like Control the Flame. He's kind of layering the harmonies and just making a brilliantly lush wall of sound. The track itself, I think, works really well. It has like the closer, even though it is quite kind of like in like arrangement terms quite minimal. It really is just guitars and vocals on this one here. Like there's no drums on it. I think there might be a bit of percussion, but there's no full band on here. I think it just really works well like as like the closer like on this album. Really one of my favourites, and yeah, a 10 out of 10 song there for The Price. Okay, so overall, this album would score 82%. So I think this is a really strong album here from the Lightning Seeds. A great debut record, like as well. Really, like in some ways, like I set the template a little bit for kind of Britpop. I think maybe like certainly like the Lightning Seeds got more successful like into like the 90s. Albums like Jollification were big hit albums, like in like kind of like the mid 90s. But at this point, they were kind of just getting started, and I think this, you could argue, is probably their best album. I don't think they have a kind of perfect album by any stretch of the imagination. Like every Lightning Seeds album has one or two kind of filler songs or one or two tracks that just aren't quite hitting the spot for me. But this is a great debut. So many of my favourites on here, like All I Want, Bound in a Nutshell, Pure, Sweet Dreams, and The Price, like in particular. It's just, yeah, really great songwriting, and yeah, again, quite remarkable, like that. It was all basically, yeah, self-produced, mostly self-performed, like as well, like aside from like there's a few guest spots like I mentioned, and yeah, just a fantastic record. So yeah, that's been my review of the Lightning Seeds and Cloudcuckooland. So yes, I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.
Could never say